Hi guys, David here. In today's video, we are going to talk about the PolarPro Apex Travel Tripod. If you are new here, my name is David. On this channel, we talk about photography and video. If that's something you're into, please consider subscribing. So I was looking for something very small and compact that I can use for trips, for travel, vacations, or even some landscape work. That's maybe I'm going out for a hike. I can just throw my tripod or my Fujifilm X100T, throw that in the bag and maybe a few filters, and I don't have to be carrying around a lot of gear. Usually I'll be shooting with the Fujifilm X-T3 or the X-T4 with a few lenses and a full-size tripod. But for those other days, I wanted to have something really light and small. So I was originally thinking I could use the JOBY Gorillapod, because I have the JOBY Gorillapod 5K, and it's really nice, but I was having issues with setting it up on a tabletop. It would just, the rubber legs seemed like they would just slide. When you first get it, it's probably going to be fine, but after time, it just seems like these legs just start to slide out whenever you have it set up. So that was one issue, and a lot of people like this because you can, wrap it around a tree. If you're out, if there's a post close by, you can wrap it around that. You can wrap it around pretty much anything. But I've never done that because I was afraid that my camera would be sitting there and all of a sudden it would just come crashing down. So I just didn't trust a tripod. I mean, nothing against JOBY, the JOBY Gorillapod, but anything like this that would wrap around a tree, I just wouldn't trust it. So I wanted to look for something a little bit smaller, because the PolarPro, you can see that the size difference. You can get this one's a lot smaller if you're looking for something smaller like this. And whenever I was picking one of these up, I didn't realize that they actually have two different tripods. They have the base model, which I didn't know that they had, which in the beginning I would have just purchased this one. And then they have the other one with the ball head. This looks a little different because I actually mounted a new plate on the top of it, because originally it came with this little plate, which is great. The idea is nice because they have this where it flips this way and flips down, so you can shoot for portraits and then landscape mode real easy. But the problem with this is they have this little bolt here that uses like an Allen key, and you can tighten that, but it doesn't really actually tighten it enough. And you can see this one right here, it was broken. So whenever I received it, it was busted. So I called them up and told them about it. They shipped me out a replacement. And that's one good thing. That's the one thing that's good about a lot of companies that have a lifetime warranty, like PolarPro. Another company that I use a lot of is Peak Design. Because if there's an issue, you can give them a call, tell them what's wrong with it, and most likely you'll just be able to get a replacement for that part that was broken. So a lot of people, I was watching a lot of videos, and they were saying that even though mine came broken, they said that you couldn't crank this down enough to tighten it so it wouldn't budge. So if you wanted it in landscape mode, it would still flip up if you weren't careful. And that's one thing. Another thing I would worry about is having it set up on a table and wanted to pick it up real quick. I mean, forget about that. The thing was going to flip up and down, and then the camera is going to slap back and forth and might end up breaking the camera itself. So I didn't like that. Another thing is I thought that this was going to be compatible with Arca Swiss plates. But the thing is, on this mount here, so it has these two little things on here, which is good for their plate themselves. When you slide it in there, it kind of locks it in a little bit, and then you can crank it down. But the problem with that is if you try to use any other plate, because I have some Peak Design plates, these if I try to put that in there, those get in the way. It would work if you try to be careful with it, but if you're in a hurry, that's gonna slow you down. So I have some other plates here. I just thought I was going to be able to use different plates, Arca Swiss style plates in this mount. So after that, I had them ship me out a replacement. But then I was thinking, what if I just remove this plate and maybe they'll update this later down the line. But I looked on Amazon. I was looking for some kind of Arca Swiss plate, and I found this really cheap one on Amazon that it worked really well. Like it's cranked down, it's not moving anywhere. Actually, let me just remove this. Let me just show you. So you can see right here it has this little thing that sticks out, and with their mount it goes right in there, and then you can put that screw right in there, and then you can crank it down. So I was looking for something that had the same shape, and then I came across this on Amazon. It's not exactly, it's a little bit bigger than it needs to be, but I just purchased it because it wasn't that expensive, to see if it was going to work. And then I just put the screw in there and just cranked it down. Let's see here. Okay, so once I have that thing cranked in there, then it's not moving anywhere. So that works pretty well, especially because I'm not using any really heavy cameras on it. So I mean, even if it would budge a little bit, which it's not, it works pretty good. Especially if I'm using any, because I use a lot of L brackets. So if I wanted to, I can just go and attach an L bracket right there, and I crank it down. That way, if I'm using this tripod, I can just loosen that, take this L bracket and mount it to any of my other tripods that have the Arca Swiss style plates. So I have this other one. This is a three-legged thing. It also has the Peak Design plate. So I mean, I can just attach that. I can crank that down, and it's good to go. So I have that, and then and these other plates. Even if I want to use the one that came with the PolarPro, I can just go there and I can just attach it, and it's working good. So this is working pretty well for me, this custom plate. So if you have this tripod and you want to get a different head because you're tired of this thing that flips up, flips down, maybe it's not getting tight like mine was, or it broke like that, you can always do something like this. But as far as the everything else on the tripod, I love everything else about this. I mean, it's really heavy duty, the legs and everything. And then if this first leg here has this rubber grip. So if you were doing any vlogging or anything, you could just use that as a handle. It's nice and gives you a good grip. That's good there. And then also it has these little feet, rubber feet that you can take off. Like if you're shooting in sand or anything and you need your tripod to dig into the ground a little bit more, it has these little teeth on all the legs, and that works really well for making sure your tripod is even more sturdy than it already is. And also it has these little teeth here on each of the legs that have numbers on them. So you have like 1 through 7 or maybe 1 through 8. And then you can put like number 3, you can crank that down. If you want all the legs to be roughly about the same height, you can just put number 3 and crank that one down, loosen it, and then do the other one, number 3, crank it down. Some people were saying it takes a little bit longer to set up because they have to loosen each leg. I don't think it takes that long to set it up. But it's also nice. It has, whenever you loosen these, you can see there's a red mark here, so you know that the leg is loose. I mean, obviously, if it's really loose, you know it's loose. But if you do see that red line, you really want to make sure that's tight. You just crank that down, and then you don't see the red line. You know it's tight. If you are looking at, you know, picking up one of these tripods, I would probably go ahead and get this one that doesn't have the ball head, because you can put any large ball head on the top of this. So then you don't have to worry about that. Because I was originally thinking that, when I didn't realize that they had two different ones, but then after I was thinking I could just remove, I thought that this would come off and then I could put another ball head on the top, but that's not the case. So if you want to use your own ball head, then you're going to want to pick up the base model here. So far, I really like this, especially for travel and throwing this in the bag. Even if I want to shoot really low to the ground, because that's one thing that I like about this, is I want something that I can shoot really low. If I have like water coming through and I want to blur out the water, I can have this, and then, you know, I can set this up to the ground. But if I want it even lower, there's no, you know, there's no center column or anything, so you can just open the legs like that and you're all the way to the ground practically. So another thing is, I'll probably end up throwing this tripod into my bag, even with, you know, even having a full-size tripod, because then usually my full-size tripod, I actually have to remove the center column, and that just takes time, you know, removing the center column. And since this is so small, I can just throw this in my bag as well with the full-size tripod, if I'm going with all of my equipment. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below, and we will see you guys in the next video.